All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, Eddie Van Halen, did he ever give anyone his blessing before he left planet Earth? That's the subject of this video. You don't hear anything about what Ed wanted. Did Ed want Van Halen to never do anything again? Or did it really matter to Ed at that point? Because the band was so off and on for so many years that maybe he just figured, doesn't matter. I'm not going to leave anybody any instructions. Maybe when you're in that state of mind, knowing that you're not going to be around for that much longer, you could do one of two things. You can tell everybody to go bleep themselves, or you can give someone a blessing and say, look, Sammy, if you want to continue this thing, go for it, man. You have my blessing. I'm sure Sammy would have done a great job with it. I'm not sure about Dave, because Dave, you know, Dave was making plans even before the end of this. And Dave, again, hasn't really said as much as he could have said about Ed's passing. He did say at one point, hey, I'm Van Halen de facto. And way back when, he said something like, I don't think Ed's going to answer the bell. All right. And this is probably when Eddie was pretty sick. And it made it sound like Ed was incapacitated, was using drugs or something. And that wasn't the case. This is why sometimes it might be beneficial to let out just a little bit of information. He's not feeling up to it right now. And people, of course, would, probably start speculating about his health, but at least they're not thinking the guy is OD'd somewhere and can't get up. I just wonder, it's just something that I wonder about. Did Ed say to anybody, are you going to continue? Or I would prefer that we just stop. There's no reason to continue without me. I can't, if he was a humble guy, everybody said, especially when you would first meet Eddie Van Halen back in the old days. I don't know how he was to people later on in life, but that he was just very unassuming and nice and wasn't, maybe all that engaged where he should have been. Maybe he didn't really look at the business side of things. But you've got two guys out there who are battling for the Van Halen legacy. A smaller extent, you've got Wolfie out there trying to carve out his own legacy, and he's giving the middle finger to everybody who wants him to be a part of the old Van Halen legacy. And that's not going over well with the old timers, but it's really not affecting Wolfie's audience or album sales. He's got kind of a different group of folks, although I do believe his name ID gets him in the door every single time. He says it opens doors, but it doesn't keep them open. Well, but it opens doors. So that's a positive thing. Now, I think if you want to keep those doors open, you might want to throw a bone out to us old timers here and say, hey, we're going to do a one-off Van Halen reunion concert. I'll play lead guitar, or I'll bring someone in to help me, so you guys don't get mad at me if I suck. And then we have Sam, we have Dave, we have Michael, we have Alex. We throw the kitchen sink and we just pay tribute. Like I keep saying, I don't know why that would be a bad idea. Raise funds for Mr. Holland's Opus or for cancer research. All of these things would just make sense. And if Ed didn't want this to continue, somebody should just come out and say, look, he wasn't too keen on us going on without him. Maybe it's not classy to even ask the question at the time. Maybe it's insensitive to say, hey, by the way, you're not going to be around for too much longer. I'm rubbing my hands together here. Who's going to get the band? It's like, who's going to get the inheritance? And maybe he gave everybody the middle finger and said, buzz off, because it's not yours to get. I don't know. Maybe Alex knows the truth here. You would think Alex would know everything about this, and maybe he would put it out there. Maybe there was just no thought of it. That's probably the most likely scenario, that nobody really thought in those terms. Everybody was just in shock because they couldn't believe Eddie Van Halen wasn't going to be here. because he was too young not to be here anymore. But it is, a daily thing. Dave's got his Vegas residency. Sammy's playing rooftop concerts. Sammy's talking about the Van Hagar era and how important that is. Dave is releasing songs that he did with John 5. At least he's got a video out there today. By the way, not a bad little EP he recorded back when, I think Different Kind of Truth was probably being recorded, or not too far after that. Vocally, he sounds a little sharper than he does these days. And that's a good 5 or 6 years ago now. And yeah, that time frame can make a big difference. Maybe in the studio, Dave can be a little bit better. I don't know. Hence, if you had both Sammy and Dave, imagine having both David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar on the same song, singing. Okay, they don't have to be in the same room, but imagine them being, on the same record, which has never happened. And you reboot this band in a way that makes fans curious. You don't go crazy with touring, but you try a one-off concert, see how that goes, see what the response is. I guarantee you it'll sell out in probably a few minutes, and Irving Azoff will be a very happy man, but who knows? I don't know who got the blessing, if anyone got the blessing, if Dad just told Wolfie, hey, it's your call. You do what you want to do with this. Maybe Wolfie said, I'm not doing anything with it because I don't want to try to live up to your standards and your legacy. I think that might be the reason why Wolfie is so resistant to rebooting Van Halen, or just being kind of a part of Van Halen. Technically, he was in the band, right? So if you look at it that way, you've got 4 guys, you got 5 guys, you got Alex, you got Michael, you got Sam, and you got Dave, and you got Wolfie. So you got 5 guys who could be in that band at the same time right now. Now, will it happen? I don't know. I just don't know. I can't see it happening, but it's plausible. And will people talk about this after I do a video? Probably not. Because here's the thing. It's somewhat sacrilegious to talk about Van Halen without Eddie being in it. A lot of people are just like, nope, done. But here's an example. Chicago continued without Terry Kath. And I would put Terry Kath right up there close to Eddie Van Halen as a guitarist and as the heart and soul of that band. All right. They continued on. Their music was big. Their legacy was big. And they recruited guitar players and they moved on. Now, is Eddie a bigger name than Terry Kath? Yes. Is he a much better player than Terry? I don't know. Different styles. Both of them kind of reinvented how to play to some degree. Eddie probably more so, where you could say Terry was a disciple of Jimi Hendrix. Ed was his own disciple, created his own religion of guitar, so to speak. But both were very important to their respective bands, although Chicago was drifting away from the more guitar-oriented and experimental stuff. So you don't need this crazy good guitarist like you needed him before. Whereas with Ed, you're always going to need Ed. If Van Halen reboots, you're going to need somebody who sounds like Ed, or you're going to need Ed. There's no question about it. So there you have it. The legacy, who knows? Who has it? I don't know. Did anyone get a blessing at the end? Are they going to fight forever as to who has, more say in the whole Van Halen legacy going forward? I don't know. All I know is that you're going to hear a lot from Sammy and a lot from Dave and a little bit from Wolfie and not too much from Michael and probably 0 from Alex. So it's kind of a sad thing. A great band is still out there. Even without Eddie, it's still a very interesting group of people, and it would be kind of fascinating to see if they could put something together. So that's my video. Voice is a little weird today, and I apologize for that, but thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.